Welcome to episode 101 of the Peak Performance Podcast. I'm Brad Young, and this is the show where we dive deep into what it actually takes to become the best version of yourself. Not someone else's version, not a cookie cutter program pulled from a fitness magazine, but your version. The one built around your body, your goals, your life. Today's episode is one I've been looking forward to for a long time. We're going to walk through how to train for your body type, eat in a way that fuels your specific goals, recover in a manner that actually works for your unique physiology, and tie it all together using both ancient wisdom and modern tools that can keep you honest and on track. Think of this less like a podcast and more like a book you're reading with your ears. Let's get into it. You are not everyone else, and that's the point. One of the most liberating and simultaneously frustrating truths about becoming a peak performer is this: what works brilliantly for your training partner may do almost nothing for you. The fitness world is drowning in one size fits all programs, universal diet plans, and generic recovery advice. And the reason so many people quit, plateau, or get hurt is that they never stop to ask the most important question of all: what does my body actually need? Before we get into the specifics of training, nutrition, and recovery, we need to establish a foundation. That foundation is self awareness, not the soft, vague kind you hear about in motivational speeches, but the precise, practical kind that tells you how your body responds to stress, food, sleep, and effort. Peak performance isn't about pushing harder than everyone else, it's about pushing smarter in the right direction with the right fuel at the right time. That's the game we're playing today. The concept of body types has been around for decades. And while modern science has added significant nuance to the conversation, the core idea holds up remarkably well. Understanding whether you tend toward a lean, wiry build, a naturally muscular and athletic frame, or a softer, more endurance prone physique gives you an extraordinary starting point for designing a lifestyle that actually fits. These aren't rigid boxes. Most people fall somewhere between two types, and your body can shift over time. But knowing your tendencies changes everything about how you approach the work ahead. Throughout this episode, we're going to look at three primary body type tendencies and discuss how each one should approach training, eating, and recovery differently. We'll also look at how ancient practices and modern technology can enhance every single one of these pillars. Whether you're just starting out or you've been training for years and feel like you've hit a wall, there is something in today's conversation for you. Stay with me. Training for your body type and goals. Training. Let's start with training because movement is the foundation of everything. The way you move your body, how often, how hard, what kind of exercise, and for how long has to be calibrated to who you are physically. Not who you want to be, not who your favorite athlete is. Who you are right now in this body with these tendencies. The lean builder. If you're naturally lean, tend to lose weight easily and struggle to put on muscle. Your training needs to prioritize intensity and brevity. Long, slow cardio sessions are not your friend. Heavy resistance training with adequate rest between sets. Think 3 to 5 days per week with compound movements like squats, deadlifts, and presses is where your results live. Your nervous system responds well to high effort, but it also needs more recovery time than other types. The key is to train hard, rest well, and resist the urge to add more volume just because you feel like you should be doing more. More is not always better. For you, more is often the enemy of progress. The natural athlete. If you're naturally muscular, respond quickly to training and tend to gain both muscle and fat with relative ease, you have a gift and a challenge at the same time. Your gift is that your body adapts fast. Your challenge is that it can also stagnate fast if you don't keep changing the stimulus. You thrive on variety. Mix strength training with interval based conditioning work. Push hard 4 to 5 days a week, but make sure 2 of those sessions challenge your cardiovascular system at varying intensities. You can handle more volume than the leaner type, but you still need structure. Randomness will produce random results. The endurance engine. If you tend to carry more body fat, have a softer natural build, and find that your body holds on to weight stubbornly, your training strategy centers on frequency and metabolic conditioning. This doesn't mean endless hours on a treadmill. In fact, steady state cardio alone is one of the least effective tools in your toolbox. What works for you is a combination of resistance training to build the lean muscle that elevates your resting metabolism alongside higher frequency, varied movement. 6 days of moderate intensity training with 2 or 3 of those incorporating genuine strength work will produce far more meaningful change than any cardio only approach ever could. Now, here's the part that most training guides skip: your goals matter just as much as your body type. If your goal is raw strength, your program looks different than if your goal is athletic longevity, endurance, or body composition. A lean builder chasing a marathon finish line needs to add carefully structured aerobic base work without sacrificing the muscle they've worked hard to build. A natural athlete chasing a powerlifting total needs to dial back the conditioning and focus almost exclusively on progressive overload. Your body type tells you your tendencies. Your goal tells you your direction. The program you build has to honor both. The ancient art of movement, ancient methods. Before we move on to nutrition, let's spend a moment with something that doesn't get nearly enough credit in modern fitness culture: the wisdom of ancient movement practices. For thousands of years, human beings built extraordinary bodies and remarkable physical resilience without a single barbell, treadmill, or protein shake. They did it through deliberate, purposeful movement that was deeply connected to breath, intention, and rhythm. Yoga, in its original form, was not a flexibility class, it was a complete system for building physical and mental resilience. The breath control practices embedded in traditional yoga, known as pranayama, have been shown in modern research to regulate the nervous system, reduce cortisol levels, and improve recovery between training sessions. For any body type chasing peak performance, integrating even 20 minutes of breath work and intentional movement into your week is not optional, it's essential. Ancient martial arts traditions, from the slow, deliberate forms of Tai Chi to the explosive power training of ancient Greek wrestling, understood something that modern exercise science is only now catching up to. The body performs best when the mind is fully engaged in the movement. This idea, often called the mind muscle connection today, has deep roots in traditions that predate modern gyms by millennia. When you train with full attention, aware of how each movement feels, where the tension lives, how your breath supports or undermines your effort, you get dramatically more out of every session. Walking, which seems almost embarrassingly simple, is one of the most powerful recovery and longevity tools ever documented. Ancient cultures didn't separate walking from training, it was training. Long, purposeful walks in nature were understood to clear the mind, support digestion, regulate hormones, and maintain joint health. For all three body types, especially on recovery days, deliberate walking of 30 to 60 minutes outdoors is one of the highest return activities you can add to your weekly routine. It costs nothing, it requires no equipment, and the research supporting its benefits is overwhelming. Eating for your body type and goals. Nutrition. Nutrition is where most people either unlock their potential or unknowingly sabotage it. The challenge isn't that we lack information, we have more nutrition information available to us today than at any point in human history. The challenge is that we've been sold the idea that one diet rules them all: high fat, low carb, high carb, low fat, all protein, no protein, eat 6 times a day, fast for 20 hours. The noise is deafening, and almost none of it accounts for the most important variable of all: you. Lean builders and food. If you're naturally lean and struggle to build mass, your nutrition needs to prioritize caloric abundance and protein consistency. You need to eat more than feels comfortable, more often than feels natural, and with greater attention to quality carbohydrates than any other body type. Rice, oats, sweet potatoes, and whole grain bread are your performance allies. Aim for a gram of protein per pound of body weight daily, distributed across 4 to 5 meals or snacks. Healthy fats from sources like avocados, nuts, and olive oil support hormone production and help you maintain energy throughout the day. Don't fear food. For you, food is literally your training tool. Natural athletes and food. If you're the natural athlete type, your body is efficient at processing most macronutrients, which means you have more dietary flexibility, but also more dietary responsibility. Your challenge is managing the balance between enough fuel to perform and enough restraint to avoid unnecessary fat gain. A moderate, balanced approach works beautifully for you. Roughly equal portions of quality protein, complex carbohydrates, and healthy fats at most meals. Timing matters more for you than for other types. Eating a balanced meal 2 hours before training and a protein rich meal within an hour after training will noticeably improve both your performance and your recovery. Listen to your hunger, but don't let it make all the decisions. Endurance engines and food. If you're the endurance prone type, nutrition is your most powerful lever and it has to be pulled with precision. Your body is highly efficient at storing energy, which means excess carbohydrates and dietary fats get stored rather than burned. Your nutrition strategy centers on lean proteins at every meal, a generous abundance of fibrous vegetables, and carefully timed carbohydrate consumption around your training sessions. Before a workout, a small serving of complex carbohydrates gives you fuel without flooding your system. After a workout, protein and a moderate amount of carbohydrates supports recovery. At other meals, keep the carbohydrate volume lower and prioritize protein and vegetables. This isn't a punishment, it's a precision strategy for a highly efficient engine. Ancient nutrition wisdom that still holds up. Ancient methods. Long before macronutrient ratios and meal timing apps, ancient cultures developed nutritional philosophies that modern science keeps rediscovering. The Mediterranean diet, which is arguably the most well researched dietary pattern in the world today, is simply a reflection of how ancient Greek, Italian, and Middle Eastern populations ate for thousands of years. Whole foods, seasonal produce, lean animal proteins, legumes, and generous use of olive oil. No processing, no artificial ingredients, no confusion about what counts as food. Ayurveda, the ancient Indian system of medicine and lifestyle, recognized thousands of years ago that different body constitutions, what they call doshas, require different nutritional approaches. The three doshas, Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, map with striking similarity onto the lean, athletic, and endurance body type framework we've been discussing today. Vata types are encouraged to eat warming, grounding, calorie rich foods. Pitta types are advised to balance cooling foods with moderate portions. Kapha types are guided toward lighter, spicier, less heavy fare. Ancient wisdom didn't have lab studies, but it had generations of observation, and the patterns it identified are hard to dismiss. Traditional Chinese medicine similarly recognized that food is medicine. Specific foods were prescribed not just for caloric content, but for their energetic properties, their impact on organ systems, and their seasonal appropriateness. While we don't need to adopt any of these systems wholesale, the underlying principle that food is deeply personal and deeply powerful, is one worth carrying with you into every meal you eat. Food is not just fuel, it is information. Every meal you eat sends a signal to your body about what kind of environment you live in, how much it needs to protect itself, and how much energy it has available to perform. Choose your signals wisely. Recovery, the most underrated pillar. Recovery. If training is the stimulus and nutrition is the fuel, recovery is where the actual transformation happens. This is the part of peak performance that most people skip, rush through, or simply don't understand. We have been sold a culture that celebrates overwork and glorifies exhaustion. We wear our busyness like a badge of honor, and we carry that same mentality into the gym. More training, less rest, push through the soreness, sleep when you're dead. This mentality doesn't build peak performers, it breaks them. Every positive adaptation your body makes, every pound of muscle gained, every second drop from your mile time, every increase in strength or endurance happens during recovery, not during training. Training creates the demand, recovery answers it. If you are consistently under recovering, you are consistently underperforming no matter how hard you train or how clean you eat. Recovery is not laziness, recovery is the work. Sleep, the foundation. 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep per night is not a luxury, it is a biological requirement for peak performance. During deep sleep, your body releases growth hormone, repairs damaged muscle tissue, consolidates motor patterns learned during training, and resets the hormonal systems that regulate appetite, stress, and energy. Skimping on sleep does not just make you tired, it impairs every other pillar of performance simultaneously. Active recovery. Recovery doesn't always mean stillness. For most body types, active recovery, gentle movement that increases blood flow without creating new stress, accelerates the healing process between hard training sessions. Walking, swimming, yoga, light cycling, or even a slow, deliberate mobility session all count. The key is at keeping the intensity genuinely low. Active recovery is not a light training session, it is deliberate, purposeful restoration. Contrast therapy. Alternating between heat and cold exposure has been used for thousands of years across Scandinavian, Japanese, and Roman cultures, and modern sports science has confirmed what those cultures knew intuitively. Contrast therapy reduces muscle soreness, accelerates recovery, improves circulation, and has measurable effects on mood and mental resilience. A hot bath followed by a cold shower, a sauna followed by a cold plunge. Even alternating warm and cool water in a regular shower provides meaningful benefit. Stress management. Physical recovery and psychological recovery are not separate processes. Chronic mental stress elevates cortisol, which directly impairs muscle repair, promotes fat storage, disrupts sleep, and reduces motivation to train. Managing stress through deliberate practices. Breath work, meditation, time in nature, journaling, or simply unplugging from screens for a meaningful portion of your day is as important to your performance as any supplement or training protocol. Recovery tailored to your body type. Recovery. Just as training and nutrition need to be personalized, so does recovery. The lean builder's nervous system is highly reactive, which means it takes longer to fully recover from intense training. This type benefits enormously from longer sleep windows, deliberate deload weeks every 4 to 6 weeks, and generous use of parasympathetic activating practices like breath work and gentle yoga. Pushing through fatigue signals for this type leads reliably to overtraining, injury, and burnout. The natural athlete recovers faster than average, which can create a false sense of readiness because they feel good quickly. They often return to hard training before the deeper cellular level recovery is complete. This type benefits from tracking objective recovery markers into resting heart rate variability if they have access to a monitor, and sleep quality rather than relying solely on how they feel. Feeling good is not the same as being fully recovered. The endurance engine tends to recover at a moderate pace and is particularly sensitive to the quality of sleep and nutrition during recovery windows. For this type, the quality of the post training meal has an outsized impact on how well they recover by the next session. Protein timing is especially important, as is maintaining a consistent sleep schedule. Irregular sleep patterns disrupt the hormonal balance that this type depends on to manage body composition effectively. A simple recovery rule that applies to every body type. If your performance in training has declined for 2 or more consecutive sessions without an obvious explanation like illness or travel, you are not under training. You are almost certainly under recovering. The answer is never more training. The answer is always more recovery. Ancient recovery practices that modern science is catching up to. Ancient methods. The ancient world was, in many ways, more sophisticated about recovery than we are today. Roman athletes used elaborate bath complexes that combined hot rooms, cold plunge pools, steam baths, and massage in a deliberate sequence designed to restore the body after competition. Gladiators, the elite athletes of their era, ate carefully prescribed diets and followed recovery protocols that were documented and refined over generations. They didn't have sports science degrees, but they had something we often lack: time, attention, and respect for the recovery process. Traditional Japanese forest bathing, known as Shinrin Yoku, is one of the most well documented recovery practices in existence. Spending 2 hours walking slowly through a natural forest environment has been shown to lower cortisol, reduce blood pressure, improve natural killer cell activity in the immune system, and elevate mood for up to a week after a single session. It requires no equipment, no gym membership, and no protocol beyond simply being present and moving gently through nature. Ancient cultures didn't study the science of forest bathing because they didn't need to. They lived it. The Finnish sauna tradition, which has been practiced continuously for over 2,000 years, is perhaps the most extensively studied passive recovery tool available to modern athletes. Regular sauna use has been associated with reduced cardiovascular risk, improved muscle recovery, enhanced growth hormone release, and striking reductions in all cause mortality. The mechanism isn't complicated. Heat stress creates a mild, controlled physiological challenge that strengthens the body's adaptive systems. The body gets better at handling all forms of stress, physical, hormonal, and immune, when it is regularly exposed to controlled heat. You don't need a high end spa. A basic sauna, used 2 to 4 times per week for 20 to 30 minutes, delivers most of the documented benefits. Bringing modern and ancient together. Integration. Ancient practice, modern life. The most effective performance programs are not built from the newest technology alone, nor from ancient wisdom alone. They are built from the intelligent marriage of both. Use breath work from the yoga tradition to regulate your nervous system before bed. Use modern resistance training principles to build strength efficiently. Use forest walking because your ancestors knew it worked. Use heart rate data because now you can measure what they could only feel. Both are valid, both are powerful. Neither is complete without the other. Technology is a mirror. Modern wearable technology gives you access to information that even the most sophisticated ancient athlete could never have had. Your precise sleep stages, your resting heart rate trends over weeks and months, your heart rate variability as a window into nervous system recovery, your daily movement patterns, and even your stress levels through physiological markers. These tools don't replace wisdom and self awareness, they amplify it. A wearable device that tells you your recovery score is low doesn't make the decision for you, but it gives you data to support the decision you already know you should make. Rest today. The mind is the athlete. Ancient traditions, from Stoic philosophy to Buddhist practice to indigenous warrior cultures, all understood something that modern sports psychology is only recently formalizing. The mind is the primary athlete, and the body is its instrument. How you think about difficulty, how you respond to setbacks, how you maintain focus under pressure, these mental skills are trainable, just like physical ones. And the ancient practices of meditation, journaling, and deliberate reflection are among the most powerful training tools available to you, regardless of your body type or your goals. Chapter 5: Technology as your accountability partner. Technology. We live in an extraordinary time for peak performance. The same physiological monitoring tools that were once available only to elite Olympic athletes are now available to anyone with a modest budget and a desire to improve. Wearable fitness trackers, continuous health monitoring apps, sleep analysis platforms, and digital coaching programs have democratized performance science in a way that would have seemed like science fiction 20 years ago. Used wisely, these tools can be genuinely transformative. Used poorly, they become another source of anxiety and information overload. The key to using technology effectively is to treat it as a mirror rather than a master. A mirror shows you where you are, it doesn't tell you where to go. Your fitness tracker showing you that your resting heart rate has been elevated for 3 days is useful information. It suggests that something, overtraining, poor sleep, dietary stress, emotional stress, or the early stages of illness, is placing an unusual demand on your system. That data point doesn't tell you exactly what to do, but it invites you to reflect, investigate, and respond intelligently. That's the right relationship with technology. Track sleep first. Before you monitor any other variable, get your sleep data right. Sleep is the master recovery variable, and consistent tracking of sleep duration and quality will reveal patterns that explain most of your performance fluctuations. If you only use one piece of technology, a sleep tracker is the one to use. Monitor resting heart rate trends. Your resting heart rate, measured first thing in the morning before you get out of bed, is one of the most reliable low tech indicators of your recovery status. Even without a wearable, 30 seconds with your fingers on your wrist tells you an enormous amount. Track it daily for a month, and you'll see patterns emerge that perfectly predict your best and worst training days. Log your training. Honestly, a simple training log, whether on paper, in a phone app, or in a spreadsheet, is one of the most powerful accountability tools in existence. It forces you to acknowledge what you actually did, not what you plan to do or what you remember doing. Progressive overload, the foundation of physical adaptation, is almost impossible to implement consistently without a written record of what you've done before. Use apps for nutrition awareness. You don't need to count calories obsessively for the rest of your life. But spending 3 to 4 weeks logging your food intake with a nutrition tracking app is one of the most eye opening exercises available to anyone serious about performance nutrition. Most people are genuinely shocked by what they discover. Either they're eating far less protein than they thought, far more processed food than they realized, or far more or less total food than their goals actually require. Set mental performance goals. The most sophisticated technology available for mental performance is also the simplest: a daily journal. 5 minutes of reflection each morning. What are you working on today? What challenge might arise? And how do you intend to respond? Combined with 5 minutes each evening reviewing what went well and what you do differently builds the kind of mental resilience that no supplement or gadget can replicate. Track it like a training session because it is one. Staying accountable when motivation fades. Accountability. Here's the truth that motivational content almost never tells you. Motivation is a feeling, and feelings are unreliable. The most accomplished performers in every field, from Olympic athletes to world class surgeons to elite musicians, don't perform at their best because they feel motivated every day. They perform at their best because they have built systems, habits, and accountability structures that make showing up easier than not showing up. Motivation gets you started, systems keep you going. Accountability comes in many forms, and the most effective form is the one that resonates with your personality. Some people thrive with an external accountability partner, a coach, a training partner, or even a friend who checks in regularly. The social commitment creates a gentle but real psychological pressure to follow through. Other people find external accountability stifling, preferring the internal accountability of a detailed personal tracking system where they answer only to themselves. Neither approach is superior. The one you'll actually use is the right one. Technology amplifies whatever accountability system you already have. A well configured fitness app that sends you a daily check in reminder, a wearable that vibrates when you've been sedentary too long, a digital coaching platform that requires you to log your workouts before moving to the next week's programming. These tools don't create discipline, but they reinforce it. Think of them as scaffolding. The building is yours. The scaffolding just helps you build it straighter and faster. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Build systems worthy of the version of yourself you're working to become. Building your personal peak performance blueprint. Action plan. Everything we've discussed today is only as valuable as your willingness to actually apply it. Knowledge without action is just entertainment. So let's get practical. Let's talk about how you build a personal blueprint, a living document that reflects your unique body type, your specific goals, and the methods that work for you that you can actually use starting this week. Start with an honest assessment of your body type tendencies. You don't need a professional evaluation for this. Simply look at your history. Have you always been lean and found it hard to gain weight? Have you built muscle relatively easily and responded quickly to training? Or have you consistently struggled with body composition despite genuine effort? Your history is your best data. Use it without judgment because none of these tendencies is better or worse. Each has profound advantages when you learn to work with it rather than against it. Next, write down your actual goal. Not the goal you think you should have, not the goal your friend has, not the goal the fitness industry is currently selling. Your goal. Be specific, not get in shape, but build enough upper body strength to do 10 strict pull ups, or reduce my resting heart rate to below 60 beats per minute, or have the endurance to hike for 6 hours without exhaustion. Specific goals create specific programs. Vague goals create vague effort. Then choose three practices, one from training, one from nutrition, and one from recovery, that you will implement consistently for the next 30 days. And just three. The temptation will be to overhaul everything at once, and that temptation is the enemy of sustainable progress. Peak performance is built one consistent habit at a time, stacked carefully over months and years. The person who does three things consistently for 30 days will outperform the person who tries to do 20 things for 3 days every single time. The long game. Why patience is a performance tool. Mindset. Plant the seed. Every great performance begins with a single committed decision, not a feeling, not motivation, a decision. Make the decision today, even if nothing else changes yet. The seed is more important than you think. Show up daily. Consistency over weeks and months is where all meaningful physical and mental transformation lives. The daily practice doesn't need to be perfect. It needs to be present. Showing up imperfectly beats not showing up at all every single time. Trust the process. Progress is not linear. There will be weeks where nothing seems to be working. These are the most important weeks of your journey. They are when your roots are growing deeper, when your discipline is being tested and strengthened, when the real performance is being built beneath the surface. Arrive transformed. 6 months of patient, intentional, personalized effort produces results that bear almost no resemblance to where you started. Not just physically, in how you think, how you respond to challenge, how you understand your own body. That transformation is the real peak performance. We live in a culture that celebrates fast results and dismisses slow progress. Social media shows us transformation stories that compress months of real work into a 60-second video. The fitness industry profits from convincing you that if you haven't seen dramatic results in 30 days, you need a new product, a new program, or a new approach. This is almost always wrong. The vast majority of the time, lack of results after 30 days means one of three things. You're not being consistent, you're not recovering adequately, or you haven't yet found the specific combination of inputs that works for your body. The answer is almost never to start over. The answer is almost always to refine and persist. Episode wrap up. Your best self is already waiting. Episode 101. We've covered a tremendous amount of ground today. We walked through the science and philosophy of training for your body type. We explored how to eat in alignment with your physical tendencies and your specific goals. We unpacked recovery as the most underrated pillar of peak performance. We honored ancient wisdom from yoga, Ayurveda, traditional Chinese medicine, the Roman bath tradition, Japanese forest bathing, and the Finnish sauna culture. And we explored how modern technology, used wisely, can serve as a mirror and an accountability partner on your journey. The through line of everything we discussed today is this: peak performance is personal. It is not a generic program. It is not someone else's transformation. It is the deliberate, patient, consistent practice of becoming more fully yourself, more capable, more resilient, more energized, more present in your own body and your own life. The practice looks different for everyone, and that's exactly as it should be. Your best self is not some distant destination you'll arrive at one day. Your best self is the direction you're heading when you make one good decision today. When you choose the training session over the couch, when you choose the whole food over the processed one, when you choose the extra hour of sleep over one more episode, when you choose to breathe instead of react. Every one of those decisions is a vote for the person you're becoming. Cast enough votes in the right direction, and the transformation is inevitable. Train for your type. Match your training volume, intensity, and style to your body's natural tendencies and your specific goals. Eat for your goals. Let your body type guide your macronutrient strategy, and let your goal determine your caloric approach. Recover like a pro. Treat sleep, active recovery, and stress management as training disciplines, not afterthoughts. Honor ancient wisdom. Layer proven ancient practices like breath work, sauna, forest walking, and mindful movement into your modern routine. Use technology wisely. Track what matters, build systems that support consistency, and let data inform rather than dictate your decisions. Thank you for spending this time with me today on episode 101 of the Peak Performance Podcast. I'm Brad Young, and I'll see you in the next episode. Until then, train smart, eat well, rest deeply, and keep becoming.